When Extortion Energy sets up a power plant, they have it easy. They bring the fuel to the plant, they string wires from the plant to the homes and businesses they supply, and then they turn a crank. They burn more when they need a lot of power and not so much when they don't. Renewables, on the other hand, arrive on nature's schedule. There's always wind somewhere, but the wind blows when it will. There's always sun somewhere, but clouds do sometimes block the sun. And water flows everywhere, but the flows vary in strength and volume based on seasonal cycles. Now, power demands don't really take that into account right now, but there are 3 simple things we can do to make free energy available 24/7, just like Extortion Energy. The first thing we need to do is, obviously, build collectors, and we need a lot of them. We need them everywhere we can possibly put them. The power grid won't always be the limiter of where these things can go after we get through the third thing we need to do, but I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Eventually, we will be able to harvest every scrap available in nature where and when it is produced without worrying about how far away the target customer is. The combined effect of that many free power generation devices will be a conglomerate energy production that will curl Einstein's mustache. Now, the second thing that we need to do is build storage. This is the most important thing right now because the grid is the limiter, and storage mediums allow us to harvest energy when and where it's being produced in excess to save it for peak times when we really need it. There's many ways to store power. Batteries aren't the only way. There are many, many more. For one example, this plant here is a hydro storage plant. They use hydro energy to pump water uphill to a large reservoir standing on a hill. This stores the energy generated in potential gravitational energy, which can be used later by just letting the water out of the reservoir through a turbine, which turns the crank on a generator. Storage is a no-brainer in any case. It's why we invented granaries. In most places, there's only one harvest a year. You take the energy of the summer sun, which only happens once a year, and you use little energy storage production machines, these stalks of wheat, which take the power and turn it into easily storable grain, which is put in granaries until we need to consume them to use the sun's energy to power our bodies, even when it's not shining. It's not rocket science, but that's deceptive. It actually can be rocket science. See, a rocket stores an immense amount of energy in liquid fuel. They compress oxygen and hydrogen using electricity-driven cooling and compressing machines and then put them in the rocket. When they want to use the energy they stored, they mix the gases and it ignites to shoot that energy out with enough force to lift a spacecraft into orbit. Imagine how many more rockets they'd send if the fuel was free, instead of made by converting one kind of expendable fuel to another kind of expendable fuel. And the massive loss in energy in doing that, the waste in the process of conversion from one fuel to the other, is very depressing. Storage is the way you turn energy to something you can really use limitlessly, instead of something you have to count the cost of every time. Storage is like an energy savings account that constantly accrues massive interest when hooked to a proper network of collectors. The third thing we need to do, obviously, is develop a method to transmit power from one place to another without wires. Yes, the wireless transmission of industrial amounts of electricity. What would you say if I told you this was possible? That it has been possible since 1898. That wirelessly, just like with your cell phone, power collectors all over the earth could be running in even the most remote of places and still feeding the pot. What if all the electricity being produced went to a central storage medium and was transmitted wirelessly in a way that the sum total of the collectible power by anyone with the right device would be equal to the total amount being produced by the entire network of all collectors? Like the internet, but with energy instead of data. Now, the technology to execute this, as I said, was invented by Nikola Tesla in 1898, and it's not a zero-point alien-inspired magical MacGuffin of any sort. It's plain first-year electrical engineering school level stuff. Really easy, really functional, and based on an incredibly simple concept that Tesla used in most of his work. Resonance. I mean physics resonance. Pure and simple. The same kind of signal that plays on your radio can be used to transmit industrial electricity. It couldn't be more realized in Tesla's work. I'll be doing some work on resonance in future videos because understanding it is key to understanding almost everything Tesla did. Tesla found a way to send power through the Earth's crust in the same way one would use a wire. Sort of. Only metaphorically. In actuality, it's more like bouncing the water in a pool at just the right frequency to keep the wave bouncing back and forth in the pool until it's a tidal wave. Sort of like a snowball effect, but I'll cover this in a future video called You're Using Your Tesla Coil Wrong. If this principle is understood by everyone who wants to free us from the energy hostage crisis, the crisis will end, and that right soon. Imagine a world with free energy. All that we could accomplish, and how many barriers that seem insurmountable will disappear. A new era of human civilization is on the horizon, if we are capable of seeing the unlimited energy everywhere instead of just the energy in a tiny pool of expensive, expendable, limited fuels.